Welcome back to the cryptoworld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and right now, Bitcoin is still trading right underneath a major point of resistance as the price of Bitcoin is now starting to break to the downside from this price pattern, but this could be a trap in the short term because the Bitcoin liquidation heat map is revealing where the price is likely heading next. So I'll be talking about all of that and more later in the video, so definitely watch to the end. First of all, starting off on the weekly Bitcoin chart, and right now the price of Bitcoin is obviously still looking very bullish on the larger time frames, playing out a massive bull market signal. And this signal, in case you're new to the channel, only confirmed around 2 to 3 months ago, give or take. And the last couple of times this bull market signal is confirmed on the weekly time frame, essentially a breakout in the weekly Bitcoin RSI. We've seen a huge bull market in the price of Bitcoin both of these previous times, and that bull market has lasted for at least the next 1 year or so. And so obviously, simply based on this signal right here, this is telling us that we're likely going to see a continued bull market on the larger time frames well into 2025. But remember, during these larger bull markets, we can see little pullbacks and things like that along the way on the smaller time frames. And if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, of course, right now, we're still seeing a lot of bullish momentum in the weekly Bitcoin MACD. So once again, the larger time frames still looking bullish. And if we're taking a look at this 4-day Bitcoin chart, the super trend indicator is still sitting in the green, indicating a larger bullish market. So once again, all of these larger timeframes are still currently looking very bullish right now. But if we're taking a look at this weekly Bitcoin chart, at least for now, the price of Bitcoin is still trading right underneath a major point of resistance at approximately $102,000 per Bitcoin, because that is the 1618 Fibonacci extension level on this weekly time frame right here at around 102K. So as I've been saying recently here on the channel, at around 100K to 102K, expect the price to struggle there on the price chart because that is currently strong resistance. But once we see a confirmed breakout beyond 102,000 with candle closes ideally on the weekly time frame above 102K, then in that case, this level would likely become new support and would likely start heading up towards this next Fibonacci extension level on this 3-day time frame, which is the 2618 Fibonacci extension level at around $113,000 per Bitcoin as the next major price target after we first confirm a breakout above around 100K to 102K. And of course, we still have this previous Fibonacci extension right here currently acting as support, and that's sitting at approximately 89,000. And we also have short-term support at approximately 92 to 93,000 as well. And if we're taking a look at this 12-hour time frame, obviously, as I've been saying over the last few days, I've said it's very likely that we're most likely just going to see some sideways price action chopping around sideways in the short term after that latest very volatile move that we saw a couple of days ago. And that's simply due to the fact that usually after we see a very volatile move like that, we usually end up seeing the price of Bitcoin basically just chop around sideways and kind of cool off a little bit in the short term after that extreme volatility. So that's what we're doing right now. We're not really seeing a lot of volatility right now, but we're getting ready for that next major volatile move. And in case you're new to this channel, right now the price of Bitcoin here in the current day price action on the right hand side of the screen is looking quite similar, especially when we're looking at the RSI, similar to what we saw exactly 4 years ago near the end of 2020, because back then that was the last bull cycle in the price of Bitcoin. So obviously back then we're looking bullish on the larger time frames, just like how right now on the larger time frames we're looking bullish. But in the short term, the price struggled quite a lot at around 20,000 give or take, just like how right now at around 100,000 give or take we're struggling quite a lot. And at the same time we were playing out a bearish divergence on the 12-hour time frame back then, exactly like right now we're playing out a bearish divergence on the 12-hour Bitcoin chart with higher highs confirmed in the price of Bitcoin and lower highs confirmed here in the 12-hour Bitcoin RSI. And so in case you're new to all of this, once again, a bearish divergence means that we're most likely going to see either some choppy sideways price action or maybe even a bit of a pullback in the short term, because that essentially just means don't really expect a lot of bullish momentum, at least in the immediate short term here. And usually on the 12-hour time frame, these play over basically a few days, maybe a few weeks they take to play out before they start to lose relevance. And so ultimately, we just have to be patient here in the short term. It is quite likely that at least for the next few days, maybe even another week, once again, we could chop around sideways here, basically consolidate at around 100K, give or take, before ultimately seeing that next major breakout to continue the larger bull market. And if you want to get set up ready to go to take that next major trading opportunity in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, personally, I've been taking more and more trades over on Bitfinex. So I'll make sure to leave a link to Bitfinex below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link to Bitfinex, you can get a 5.5k deposit bonus. And only if you use that link, you can get an exclusive 10% discount on all trading fees on the Bitfinex exchange forever. But that is only available if you use the link below this video to make your Bitfinex account and start trading on that account. So if you're going to be trading crypto anyway, you might as well get that extra fee discount using that first link below this video. And also, in case you're wondering, Bitfinex is a no KYC exchange, which means you can access it from any country in the world without needing any KYC. But for whatever reason, if you don't want Bitfinex, there is also another option out there that I also trade on, which is Bybit. So I'll also make sure to leave a link to Bybit below this video in the description and in the pinned comment. And if you use that link, you can get a 500 USDT position airdrop, but that's only available if you use the link below this video to make your Bybit account and deposit on that account. But with that being said, taking a look at this Bitcoin chart on the 2-hour time frame, and right now, technically speaking, we have confirmed a break to the downside here with candle closes below this ascending line of support, which was sitting at around 99.9k approximately. And so technically speaking, this confirms the break to the downside for this pattern, which sets up a short-term bearish price target based on this symmetrical triangle pattern right here. And that bearish price target is sitting at around 93,500. So basically this low right here. And from where we are right now to that price target, that's a possible 6% move to the downside. But of course, we cannot just rely everything on this one pattern by itself. We need to look at many different factors to help determine what is most likely going to play out here in the short term. And right now, if we're looking at this 2-hour Bitcoin MACD, we can see the momentum in the market right now, at least in the price of Bitcoin, the momentum is extremely flat. And so even though we've technically broken to the downside here from this triangle pattern, once again, the momentum, and if we're looking at the trajectory in the price of Bitcoin, at least as of recording this video, we've barely gone to the downside here. Essentially, the price is just chopping around sideways while we're seeing almost no momentum. And so personally, in my trading strategy, I will not be taking this trade right here for 2 reasons. The first reason is, of course, the lack in momentum. Obviously, if we're taking a short position, for example, we would ideally want to see a lot of bearish momentum to be confident in a short position. And the second reason why personally I would not be taking this trade right here is simply due to the fact that on the larger timeframes, we're technically still in a bull market. And personally, I try to only look for long positions during a bull market. And then during a bear market, I usually try to look at short positions. And so, of course, it is possible you can short the price of Bitcoin and be profitable during a bull market on these little pullbacks here, or long the price of Bitcoin during a bear market on these little bounces back to the upside. But ultimately, the shorts are going to be more profitable in a bear market, and the longs are going to be more profitable in a bull market. And so due to those reasons, personally, I'll not be taking this trade right here. And obviously, as of right now in the price of Bitcoin, at the time of recording this video, we're extremely close to even invalidating this break right here. Because if the price simply breaks out back above this point on the price chart, especially above this line right here, which is currently sitting at around 100.2k, so just above 100k, if we break out back above that level, that would invalidate this break to the downside and invalidate this bearish price target. And as for short-term support and resistance to watch out for, we do have short-term support right here based on previous support and previous resistance, and that's currently sitting at around 97.1k, so just above 97,000. We do have a decent amount of short-term support just there, and we have more support at around 95.7k and a significant amount of support at around 93,500. And as for short-term resistance, we do have a bit of resistance at just above 100,000 once again, and more resistance on this line right here, which is sitting at around 101,000. But as I said earlier, we do have a decent amount of resistance really in between around 100,000 to 102,000. And if we're taking a quick look at the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, right now we have a lot of liquidity that is starting to build to the upside above the current price of Bitcoin here in the short term. And first of all, if we're looking at what happened around half a week ago, give or take, we had a lot of liquidity above the current price of Bitcoin back then around half a week ago. And so what we saw was the price of Bitcoin moved straight up towards that liquidity, because usually these areas of liquidity are kind of like magnets. They usually try to attract the price of Bitcoin towards those areas. And then especially if the price of Bitcoin starts breaking out above these areas of liquidity, if we're going to the upside, breaking out upside liquidity above the price, that liquidates short positions, causing a short squeeze, which can push the price much higher. As we saw right here, that was a short squeeze that occurred roughly around half a week ago. But then that short squeeze ran out of fuel because we ran out of liquidity that was fueling that short squeeze. So once we ran out of liquidity here, we started to slow down that pump and start to see a little bit of a sideways consolidation. And then we started to pull back a little bit as more liquidity was actually building to the downside. So that was attracting the price of Bitcoin back to the downside again. And then we saw a long squeeze. So the opposite of a short squeeze, obviously bearish, meaning longs getting liquidated. And so that's exactly what happened around half a week ago, a short squeeze and then a long squeeze. But right now, if we're looking at where the liquidity is sitting at right now, we do have a small amount of liquidity below the price right here at around 98,000 to 98,500. But most of the liquidity is sitting in between around 104,000 to 105,000. We also have a decent chunk of liquidity at around 102,500. And so at least based on this chart right here, this is telling us that the most likely outcome, of course, there's no such thing as a guarantee, but it's likely that sometime soon, potentially in the next few days or so, the price could start taking out some of these upside areas of liquidity here to wipe out those short positions, which could possibly cause another short squeeze. And so as I said in the intro of this video, this could potentially be a trap in the price of Bitcoin. That is right. In case you're new to all of this could be a possible bear trap because, of course, the bears out there, the people bearish on the price of Bitcoin would potentially be looking at opening short positions, for example, now that we're breaking below this line of support. But if a bunch of people start to try to short Bitcoin right here, then that actually adds more and more liquidity to the upside because, of course, if you open a short position, you automatically have some sort of liquidation price to the upside, depending on how much leverage you're using. And so once again, if this little break to the downside here on the small time frames starts tempting a lot of traders to open short positions in the short term here, then that adds more liquidity above the current price here in the Bitcoin liquidation heat map, which increases the probability of a short squeeze wiping out those traders, which is known as a bear trap. It traps the traders in this short-term bearish move right here before seeing a short squeeze. And so once again, that is not a guarantee. I'm just pointing out what is a likely scenario based on what is currently happening here in the short term based on this little breakdown here, but liquidity currently building to the upside. But once again, as I said near the beginning of this video, it doesn't matter what happens here in the short term. It doesn't matter if we see a bit of a pullback or if we play out another short squeeze. Either way, when we're zooming out, looking at the bigger picture, we're still currently within a larger bull market on the larger timeframes. And if you want to trade these moves in the price of Bitcoin or any other crypto, once again, check out those links down below this video to claim those extra bonuses. And if you want to actually know how to trade crypto, no matter if the price is bullish, bearish, or chopping around sideways, then make sure to watch these videos popping up right here on your screen. The video in the top left shows you how you can profit from bullish or bearish price action using long positions or short positions. And the video in the bottom left shows you how you can easily profit from choppy sideways price action. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.